constellation. So why Hegel?
I think the same question is even more actual today. I'm sad to say over 20 years later. You know why? Because I will be very dogmatic. Please be my domina, cut me short if I talk too much as usual. You know, Hegel is for me one of the three key philosophers. Plato, Descartes, Hegel. Why? For a very simple structural reason. Did you notice how each of these three philosophers defines a whole epoch which comes after him, but in a negative way? Like, as Michel Foucault put it so nicely, one of the ways to define Western philosophy is all possible versions of anti-Platonism, no? All of them, how? Stoics do in one way, Aristotle in another way, and so on. And it's incredible, my friend Alain Badiou developed this, how even today you have a whole panoply of anti-Platonism. You have political anti-Platonism, Popper and so on, Levinas, you know, like from Plato to NATO, Plato, the father of totalitarianism, and so on. You have analytical philosophy, anti-Platonism, like Plato, idealist, no nominalism. You have the Marxist anti-Platonism, Plato, the first philosopher of the ruling class, and so on. You have the vitalist anti-Platonism. So again, to go quickly on, the same goes for Descartes. Isn't practically all modern philosophy a history of different rejections, overcomings of Descartes? And finally, Hegel is the ultimate example of this. No one is ready to be a Hegelian. Everyone wants to mark some distance, you know. Like, my thesis in all three cases, especially in the Hegel's case, is a very simple one. That in each of these three cases, what we are getting as the predominant image of a philosopher, what people react to, is what in psychoanalysis we call Deckerinnerung, screen memory. A kind of a easy, simplified image which protects us from something much more unsettling, traumatic, that these philosophers really discover. So that the thing to do is to go back and see through this screen memory. Okay, I will not now lose time of what you find in Plato. I think Plato is basically a philosopher of traumatic encounter. Like, you know, you are an ordinary guy like Socrates, something's idea is something that you traumatically encounter. Another dimension enters. Descartes is the first who desubstantialized philosophy, introduced as Derrida knew madness into philosophy, and Hegel, for me, is the ultimate philosopher. And that's why I like what you quoted, that this is the mystery of Hegel. You quoted this, philosophy is its own time conceived in thoughts. All the problem of reading Hegel, I think, can be condensed, resumed in this simple, apparent contrast. How can you bring this, obviously relativizing historicist thesis, with what is most dramatic for most of people in Hegel, with his claim to absolute knowing? Like, you know, that's the caricature of Hegel. There was a crazy guy in Prussia or later, the end Berlin, who thought he knows everything, he can read the mind of God, and so on and so on. And what I'm claiming is that maybe both poles are wrong. Neither was Hegel a simple historicist, nor does his absolute knowing means simply some access to the absolute beyond history.
But Hegel